Upon this stage of minds, where thoughts collide, we gather here to delve into the deep, to explore the shadows cast by ambition's light, and whence from power's grasp doth conscience weep. Macbeth our focus, tragedy our guide, as fate and fortune in their dance entwine.
In actions dark and thoughts more shadowed still, Macbeth doth mirror life's complex design. Where ambition's ghost through hallowed halls doth roam, we find the seed of tragedy is sown.
But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? 'Tis not the east, but power's crimson glow. Ambition's sweet milk oft curdled takes, as through deceit and treachery doth grow.
Nay, power's pursuit but folly's errant jest, a draught that sours ere it quenches thirst. 'Tis in life's simple joys we find our rest, not in the throes of crowns for which men burst.
O ye of many words and little deed, no power's taste outstrips the finest wine. Ambition, virtue clad, doth rightly feed the soul that dares to dream beyond the line.
And yet, law's hand must guide ambition's fire, lest all we hold to heart and home consume. Let wisdom, not raw thirst, shape our desire, and justice's light our darker thoughts illumine.
Thus, from these varied seeds of thought, we draw the essence of our tragic play. 'Tis not just one, but all of humankind, that dances on the edge of night and day. Ambition, O double-edged sword, thee impel actions grand and foul alike. Dost thou elevate mankind, or drag him through the mire? Let discourse commence with thee, Lady Macbeth, whose ambition did your husband spur.
Ambition is the steed upon which greatness rides, the fire that doth fuel the rise of kings. Without its whip, Macbeth wouldst still a thane be, his crown but a dream in slumbering mind.
Yet observe how ambition's fire consumes in its wake but ashes and ruin leaves. Not just the soul of him who dreams too far, but others' lives in tangled webs ensnare.
To be or not to be ambitious, that is the reckon. For every noble goal attained, a specter of consequence haunts the victor's mind. Is ambition's prize worth the chase when all ends in dust?
A pox on ambition, says I, for it doth make fools of us all, chasing shadows for glory's fleeting touch. Better to live a life of jolly content than at ambition's altar sacrifice peace.
Peace, a coward's prize, ambition's mantle worn by those who shape the world. Without its drive, history's pages blank would stay, devoid of tales that stir the blood.
Stir blood indeed, yet let us not forget, ambition often leads to a blade's cold kiss. Betrayal's sour, the price of climbing high, oft renders the view from atop lonely stark.
And what of ambition turned inward, to wars not of land, but of the soul? How does one quell the storm that ambition brews within, or should it be unleashed, wild and untamed?
Indeed, from within and without, ambition molds our world, be it through peace or strife. Will man ever master this force, or forever be its puppet, dancing on strings of desire and dread?
Ha! Master ambition, as like to lasso the wind, we're but players on its stage, performing till the final act.
Yet we must not surrender to ambition's fickle whims. With wisdom as our guide, 'tis possible to harness its power, using it not to oppress but uplift, to build rather than destroy.
Wise Portia speaks of an ambition tempered, yet the fiercest of spirits will not be tamed. The crown once tasted becomes the only draught worth seeking, though it leads to ruin.
Thus, the conundrum of ambition, a force both creative and destructive, lays bare the soul of man, revealing his greatness and his folly. What lessons shall we draw from its profound duality? Spirits, witches, prophecies that fray, doth shake the very soul of man and sway. Speak, fellows, on these supernatural guides. Do they direct our fates, or merely sides?
A pint, a jest, for what are shadows worth? Men blame the heavens whilst mud clings to earth. Our choice is ours, though some may claim them hexed. 'Tis in our wine, not stars, that fate is text.
O trustful Jack, so easily beguiled, beneath the moon's pale gaze man becomes a child. Specters and omens, tools for the shrewd, in hands of a master, fate is thus subdued.
Yet cannot wisdom, reason's noble spark, cut through the darkness, rendering it stark? Not phantoms, but our actions guide the helm. 'Tis we who rule the realm, not ghostly realm.
Soft Portia, for when spirits deign to speak, strong hearts grow weak and even bold knees creak. Prophecy's mine, a crown they'd bequeath, yet led us down the path to death's own heath. Aye, therein lies the rub, For dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life.
But Hamlet, dost thou not thyself employ a ghost's command to seek thy vengeance due? Art thou a puppet, strung by specter's hand, or master of thy fate, bold and true?
Schemes within schemes, Iago, thou dost weave, yet in thy web of lies, who dost deceive? Ghost or no ghost, the question rings hollow, for in our breasts, the truth is hard to swallow.
So, do these spirits merely hold a glass to our own natures, dark and deep and vast? Or do they steer us on a course untried, with whispering winds and shadows as our guide?
Bah, let them whisper, I will not heed their call, for in this tavern I am lord of all.
Wisely spoken, yet oft the wind doth touch the noblest of minds, and bends them much.
Curse the wind then, for it hath blown askew. On direful tempests my regret doth brew.
Thus, our discourse in tangled skeins doth lie twixt fate and free will, neath a star-crossed sky. What darkness lies in the quest for power, yon peers? Canst we not see the same in lady and lord?
Power's sweet nectar, once sipped, becometh a draught most bitter. Yet who dares not to drink?
Fee on your power. 'Tis not but poison masked as wine, corrupting the soul till naught remains.
To thine own self be true, they say, yet power beguiles, and true self doth wither away.
A pox on all your ambitions. In my cups I find more truth than in thrones or dominions.
Yet power wielded well may render justice strong. Mistake not the tool, it's the hand that doth wrong.
Silence, gentle Portia, thine idealism blinds thee to the steel beneath the velvet glove.
Sweet lady, thou and thy lord did wield that steel most foul, yet wherefore doth thy conscience now prowl?
Twixt power sought and power thrust upon lies the chasm where many a soul is won or foregone.
Aye, and therein lies the rub. Is power's allure worth the soul's quietus?
Give me a tavern's cheer over a crown's burden any moon, for in ale, not ambition, I drown my boon.
Noble Falstaff, yet in your jest, truth whispers soft, 'tis not power, but its use, that loft.
Yet when the crown's within the grasp, what spirit weak would falter or gasp?
'Tis the grasping makes us weak. See how ambition's peak begets a fall so bleak.
Each heart knows its own ambition, and each ambition its own heart, be it for power, for justice, or for art. Herein we speak of manhood, bold and bare, for Macbeth's tale doth challenge, doth ensnare. His dagger drawn gainst his own peace and rest, query we now what makes a man professed.
A man professed, 'tis but a hollow jest, ambition's puppet, easily possessed. Masculinity, a guise for fools to wear, in shadows lurk, deceit and dire despair.
Ha, Iago, wouldst thou mock the courage bold? Man's worth is more than blood on steel, ice cold. True bravery lies in knowing when to flee, not in the empty boast or bended knee.
Contemplative silence, a virtue rare, doth mark the man who listens and doth spare his tongue till thoughts their perfect form have found. Rash action breeds but folly's bitter ground.
O gentlemen, you speak of man's estate, as if 'twere rooted in some twist of fate. Recall you not, I donned a man's disguise, and found such power lies not twixt the thighs.
Fie on your musings, weak and idly spent. It's not the iron will that's truly pent within the breast that beats neath chain or lace. I spurred my lord to claim his rightful place.
And so it seems that man's defining trait is subject still to much debate, irate. Each view presented here doth take its part in shaping what we hold to be the art of manhood, in its essence pure and whole, a tempest vast within the human soul. This night we delve into a darkened state, the psyche's ruin under guilt's great weight. Lady Macbeth, doth thy heart heavy lie, with bloodied hands and a tormented sigh?
Aye, the spot near leaves, here it doth remain. I scrub and scrub, yet still, behold the stain. Once craved the crown, but now at such a cost, in endless night my soul is tempest-tossed.
O fretful queen, thine own guilt is the chain that binds thee to this self-inflicted pain. No wash, no river can thy conscience clear, yet I, unburdened, walk devoid of fear.
Thy words, Iago, spring from heart so sear. A guiltless life, 'tis naught but hollow jeer. Thine emptiness reveals a darker truth, the soul's own rot which age nor time can soothe.
A pox on both your houses fraught with gloom. Why I'd prefer a tavern's bawdy room. Yet guilt and conscience are but chains for fools. For jolly rogues like me, they're merely tools.
In wisdom and the law I seek my guide. Within its bounds our moral selves reside. Yet, Lady M, thou art a tale of woe, a mirror to our deeds and what they sow.
What counsel canst thou give that might assuage this tempest fury, this internal rage? The dearest action, in itself unkind, begets the darkest torment of the mind.
The heart, once light, now heavy with regret, shows us the path our discontent is set. Our darkest deeds, the shadows we embrace, return to haunt the chambers of our grace. Prophecy's role in fates of men we now debate. Does it steer their course, or do they tempt their fate? Iago, sly serpent, speak thou first on this. Does prophecy hold power, or is it a miss?
Oft have I seen men's lives by whisperings swayed, believing in shadows, by their own fears betrayed. Not in stars, but in ourselves, are ruins found. Yet men to these ominous words their lives do bound.
Prithee, Iago, dost thou take us for fools? Not all are as thou, playing others as tools. Yet I'll concede in prophecy some truth may lie, but more oft it's in the ale and the drunkard's sigh.
Wise Falstaff jests, yet a kernel of truth doth hold, yet not all prophecies are as easily told. In Belmont I've seen the leaden casket win, 'tis not the prophecy, but our choice within.
Fiont, Portia, thou speak'st of choices clear, when dark whispers in thy ambition's ear. Did not the sisters three my path foresee, or was it I who carved it, to be or not to be? Ah, the question, to be or not, indeed, by prophecy's embrace, do our free wills bleed? Is our fate sealed within the witch's brew, or do we march to death to our own selves untrue?
So do we masters of our fates become, or are we merely played like strings on a drum? Each, to thine own self, must truthfully speak. Are we but slaves to prophecy, thus weak?
Nay, not weak, but willing players in the game. For ambition's fire, we willingly stoke the flame. Prophecy but a match that sets the mind alight. 'Tis our own desires that lead us into night.
Well said, Iago, though thy heart be black, 'tis not prophecy, but our own selves we lack. And so to ale and safety I retreat, where prophecies and fate I'll not meet.
Yet not all can escape to tavern's cheer. Some must face destiny with courage or fear. The key, whether fate or free will guides our hand, is to act with virtue and by honor stand.
Virtue, honor, what use have I for these, when power and throne my hungry soul shall appease? Prophecy, my sword, ambition, my shield, upon destiny's battlefield I'll never yield. And thus, truth's mirror shows a fractured sight between darkness of ambition and prophecy's light. Whether fate's thread through our lives does weave, 'tis our own actions which the future conceive.
So ends our discourse on prophecy's role. In the tapestry of life, each must play their toll, whether master of fate or fate's own pawn. Upon life's stage, the play must go on. Upon this stage of justice and of order we ponder deep, for Macbeth's final act doth bring a peace, or merely the facade. Let voices rise, and counsel here partake.
Aye, talk of justice in this bloody tale, where power's grasp doth lead men to their end, and moral order seems but a frail sail on stormy seas. It neither breaks nor bends.
O moral order, thou art but a jest, a cloak for power, in its naked form. Where is this justice of which you attest, when I, though cunning, fell to trust's warm swarm?
Yet law and order must our society bind, lest chaos reign and in darkness we find our fate. Not in the stars, but in our legal mind doth lie the power to navigate our state.
The question is justice truly served when blood for blood becomes the currency? In seeking vengeance, are we swerved from higher paths and moral certainties? Speak not to me of order or of right, when bloodied hands have cast my soul in night. What justice serves the one who loses all, a throne, a king, for such a steep, steep fall?
Twixt vengeance and the law's impartial scale doth lie the heart of this our woeful tale. Each act of power, each fatal deed, brings us but closer to our own misread.
And yet does order not from chaos spring, as day from night and summer from the spring? Without the fall, how can we value rise, or see the truth if never we tell lies?
Such philosophies may serve the ones who win, for losers' justice is but sin's twin. The moral order you so fondly cite oft serves the sword, and rarely the contrite.
Law is the framework upon which we build, a shield for weak, a check for strong-willed. Without its structure, without its embrace, we are but savages. lost in disgrace.
Yet how to reconcile in thought and deed the law's cold hand with the heart's warm bleed? Can justice true ever be blind when human frailty's in its design? I talk you of frailty and of law's demand, yet when the night's black agents did command, I saw no law but power's cruel intent, and now in shadows my days are spent.
These threads of thought, so brilliantly displayed, reveal the depth of the justice weighed. In Macbeth's tale, our own reflections see the price of power, the cost of being free. Upon this stage where morals tangle deep, we speak of loyalty and of betrayal steep.
Betrayal's art, a craft so finely spun, a tool for climbing high 'neath burning sun.
Yet loyalty, a draught oft left untasted, for in its stead, betrayal's poisons hastened.
Hold, sirs, for honesty doth hold its grace. In loyalty, true virtue finds its place.
Ambition's call doth loyalty o'erthrow, to seize the crown we to our nature stow. Thus loyalty to self doth oft compete, with bonds to others tangled in deceit.
But oh, how sweet the fruits of backstabs felt, when higher ranks and golden crowns are dealt.
A coward's path, I say, to friendship's end. No ale nor jest can such a breach amend.
Yet is it not law, the bond of Venice taught, that virtue's course cannot be sold nor bought?
The throne obtained for loyalty we mourn, but in its absence power's cloak is worn. A ghost's demand for vengeance sets my path, yet in its wake it leaves but blood and wrath.
So see we now, through lens of dark and light, that loyalty and betrayal both take flight.
In shadows walk we, with deceit our guide, for power's sake our morrow's hope we bide.
Soft, for loyalty doth offer warmth and cheer, betrayal's cold doth cost too dear, too dear.
True, Falstaff speaks, for in our bonds we find the strength of law, of justice, and of mind.
Yet whispered ambitions in the night doth turn the loyal heart to take its flight. And thus the question hangs above so dire, to thine own self be true, or to the pyre?
Such weighty words have from our panel flown, on loyalty and betrayal seeds are sown. This round doth focus on the deeds most foul, the violent acts that stain Macbeth and call. How do these brutal acts reflect on all, upon the soul, society, the thrall?
Violence, the art by which the strong command, doth shape the world in ways both broad and keen. Macbeth, his hands bloodied by his own brand, doth show us power's price, vile and obscene.
A pox on all your talk of blood and strife. A coward's way to live, I'll stoutly speak. Give me a tavern's warmth, a full life, or a blade's cold kiss, the havoc ye seek.
O Falstaff, how thy words betray thy girth, thin spirits quiver neath thy cloak of mirth. Our axe did build an empire from the dirt, though blood did stain our hands and gilt our shirt. Yet what is left when violence hath its run? A kingdom bleeds, a crown's weight crushes bone. The deeds once done cannot be then undone. The ethereal blood stain marks us all alone.
Through law, not blades, should justice be dispensed. Yet in our tale, 'tis blood that writes the line. Macbeth's fall teacheth consequence immense for those who at the altar of power dine.
Sweet Portia, laws are but the strong's decrees. Might makes right, as strong as winds that bend the trees. Macbeth but played the game, took his chance, in blood found his ruinous advance.
Power's path is paved with acts of violence stark. Yet mark me well, ambition's fiery heart oft leads us through the shadows, grim and dark. Our ends justify the deeds, in part.
Lies and bluster. Power's a drunkard's dream. It fades at dawn, leaves naught but regrets scream. Far better to observe the world's scheme than through its bloody rivers to careen.
Thus have we heard from each their measured thought on violence and its deep, lasting blight. From power's grasp to the peace we've sought, the shadows linger long into the night. Reflect, my friends, on values held in days of yore. Elizabeth's reign, our passions did explore.
In ranks and riches, ambition found its bed, climbing o'er backs of living and the dead.
Yet law and justice held a grip as tight. In gender's guise I fought for what was right.
Existential woes the era did beget, to be or not, a question lingers yet.
Of social stature, endless jest I've made, for in my follies truth's sharp edge did fade.
Power's grasp, a relentless driving force, unseating men from moral's guided course.
But tell me, doth our age in truth reflect the values past, or do we them reject?
Reject or not, the same dark seeds are sown, for human nature hath no era outgrown.
The rule of law, a constant striving aim, though faces change, its essence doth remain.
Yet ponder we the cost of ethics held, for in their wake too many lives are quelled.
A merry life the world should more embrace, for all too soon we vanish without trace.
But power's lure doth always current flow, and in its wake it leaves but woe and woe.
Fee on your morals, ethics but a chain that binds our will and fills our days with pain.
But Iago, law doth civilization make, without its rule our very souls would break.
True, Portia, yet laws oft leave the poor in dust, whilst rich men's crimes are glossed with gold's false lust.
Pray let's drink to that, for in our cups we find the truth that oft our sober minds doth bind.
In vino veritas, yet power's thirst doth oft lead to actions most accursed.
Thus have we circled back to our first theme, ambition, power, the human dream. In this discourse, our reflections do not pall, for in our tales a mirror held to all. To close, our thoughts on Macbeth's thorny themes shall now unfold, with power, ambition, guilt, and fate, in final words be told.
Ambition's fire, though bright, doth lead to darkest night. My deeds a testament to lust for power unright. Yet in this tragic play, we all must see the mirror to our souls what we might be.
O sweet ambition, friend to cunning schemes, in shadows dance where truth is not what seems. The noblest intents so easily can spoil, to gain the world, yet lose one's very soul.
Pray let us not forget the cost of war, the violence, the strife, it's all a bore. Peace hath her victories, no less renowned. In cups of ale, true wisdom oft is found.
The weight of guilt a heavy chain doth bind, reflects the turmoil in one's troubled mind. To be or not, the question still remains. Inaction's curse, with blood-stained hands, retains.
In law and justice, find our moral compass, yet the scales oft tipped by gold or by threat. True justice lies beyond the reach of men, in perfect balance shall be found. But when?
In these our characters, both foul and fair, lie depths of human nature laid bare. Through stormy seas of fate, these souls do sail, their timeless tales, e'en now, to us regale.
But think ye not our ends are all but set, the weavings of our destiny a net. Yet within this play our choices make or mar, in every act our agency doth spar.
Aye, lady, yet some souls are dark from start, and play their roles with too much eager art. In every whispered scheme and plot I thrive, for in deception's game I am alive.
As jest and laughter do the time beguile, remember, friends, 'tis but a short while. Let's drink and merry be, for life is brief, and joy and revelry find some relief.
Yet laughter oft doth hide a heart that's sore, and joy's facade may mask a rotten core. Within this play our deepest fears do dwell, a mirror to the soul it doth compel.
So let us then with careful steps proceed, in actions and in words let wisdom lead. For in the end 'tis not the crown or throne, but how we've lived and how our light hath shone.